Four Midwest Guys presents Star Trek Picard Review.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very first Four Midwest Guys Presents Star Trek Picard Review. I am your host, B. Willie, and with me always is Mr. Brian Eckenbauer.
Hey, what's up, what's up?
What's going on, B? So, after, I don't know, 20 years, 18 years, 20 years, something like that, Picard's back.
I know.
Next Generation crew.
I watched the marathon, the Make It So marathon.
The Make It So marathon.
On TV the other day. They were showing a lot of the most popular episodes of Star Trek Next Generation.
Cool. Yeah, TNG is definitely my Star Trek. I mean...
Oh, yeah, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, some people like DS9, some people like the originals, somebody... Voyager people, but I've always been a TNG guy, first and foremost.
Yeah.
That's my Trek. So it was great because when they rebooted it, I was like, oh, well, we won't see Picard ever again. Yet here we are. So it's even linked to the reboot series with the whole... supernova of Romulus, so it's kind of connected in a way, which is kind of cool, I thought. What'd you think though when you heard Blue Skies? Like I heard it, I'm like, oh no, please don't let that be the opening theme every time.
Well, yeah, because it was funny because we were, when we watched Discovery,
yeah,
and we're like, ooh, I like this. It kind of has like a fringe-esque kind of. I was like, oh, I wonder what Picard's going to be.
Yeah.
And then it comes up and I was like, oh crap.
Blue Skies.
I was like, no, this cannot be the opening theme to this. I can't handle this every week. And then it just goes into the
cold opening. Yeah,
I was like, thank goodness,
thank God. Actually, the actual theme isn't too bad. I didn't think either, to be honest. It's I wanted to be a little bit more upbeat, but it's kind of got that Discovery kind of feel.
It was very somber.
Yeah.
Although I wonder if it's gonna with Mandalorian, the other recent TV show, and that changed.
Yeah, he had every show it got a little something better.
So I wonder if this will do the same thing.
I don't know. We'll find out, I guess, as we go. But it would be nice if it did. If it kind of evolved.
But it did. But the actual thing did have little hints of
TNG
in it. Yeah, you hear it in back. You can hear little spots. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. You also hear his little flute that he played or whatever.
Yeah.
At least it's supposed to be. I think it's actually a piccolo, but you get the idea.
Yep.
All right, so let's talk about that first scene. So right off the bat, we go right into the Enterprise D. Great fan service. Obviously, freaked out when I saw it. Even though I saw it in the trailer, I didn't think we were going to get it right off the bat. And where does it take us? It takes us right into 10 Forward with Data, and it starts with a poker game. And I don't know about you, but I find that pleasant. Like TNG ended with a poker game, and this series picks back up with a poker game.
Well, it's funny because the Make It So marathon ended with that
last episode.
The last episode, that 2-part,
yeah,
where it was the very end where they sit down and play the poker. He's like,
I should have done this a long time ago.
And he's like, we're always here.
Yeah,
and it was like, and then I watched that. I'm like,
symmetry.
What? Yes. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. So it was nice. It was a nice way to start the series, I thought. And how did you think about Brent Spiner looking as Data? I thought they did a really good job. I don't know if that was CGI. It looked like mostly makeup to me.
Okay. So like when we watched the trailer, the teaser trailers beforehand, and you look at him beforehand, you're like,
looks a little
like oblong, like
a little round.
Like he had root canal surgery or something,
cheek implant.
Yeah, and he was like just a little big, but when he did that one, it looked okay.
Yeah, I thought it looked fine.
Yeah, it looked good.
Yeah, and you couldn't tell he had aged, or they covered all that up, obviously.
Right.
So
But I thought it was good.
yeah, I did too. I didn't have a problem with it at all. I thought they did a really good job with that. So, and then of course in the poker game, it's a little bit of back and forth. Data puts them all in, and it's all about him not wanting the game to end, which I think is interesting because it's we haven't yet to start this adventure, but already he's yearning subconsciously, I guess, in a dream, to get back out there.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, not a midlife crisis, but the end of life crisis. Like, I'm ready to give up. Like,
Yeah, I got more in the tank. Yeah.
Which later on, he actually uses that line. He's like, I didn't come here to retire or whatever. I came here to die.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I'm not living.
Yeah, I still have more left in me. And it's like, yes, you do, yes, you do.
And I think the other big part of that scene was, I actually thought it was 4 queens, but you pointed out when you rewatched, there's 5 queens.
Yeah.
It turns up 5 queens of hearts, nonetheless.
Yeah.
So at first I was thinking maybe it was 4 women, but in fact maybe it's 5, or it's just significant of being the Queen of Hearts. So does that somehow relate to a new Borg queen, maybe? But it's the Queen of Hearts. I would expect maybe like the Queen of, I don't know,
like spades or
clubs or something. Yeah, maybe more clubs just because. But I don't know. So it's kind of interesting because we've seen this before. They've used this in Star Trek before, where he's dealing cards and a certain sequence of cards would come up to try to tell them. There was that whole Stuck in a Loop episode of TNG, and they used that. Data was the one dealing and constantly getting that message. So I'm interested. I can't quite figure out yet what the 5 queens stand for. If it's significant of just a queen, or if there's 5 individual people.
Yeah, or if there's nothing, and that was just his way of realizing that he was in the dream.
It could be. It's possible. Or it's a hint to us that it's a dream sequence. I don't know, but it. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's something significant there. I don't think they just throw in, maybe it was just actual, 4 or 5 queens. So I don't know. There's something about that. So I think that's going to be something to keep an eye on as the series continues. Also, the other thing is we get our first look at Mars and the attack of Mars, at least briefly. And it's obviously a major point of contention for Picard and how he feels. And we get a little bit more of that as we go along. But so it's going to be, I think it's a foreshadowing of obviously what we learned in this episode, but also probably throughout the entire series that he's going to have to deal with everything that's happened in his past, that the past is going to come back to haunt him, so to speak.
Right.
At certain points. All right, so let's move on to Dahj and the attack scene there when she has her boyfriend who's some sort of an alien. I didn't pick up. Did you pick it up by any chance? I tried. I couldn't understand what he was saying. But basically, she's pretty much normal until they put that black bag over her face, and then even they're saying she's activating, and she goes full on kill mode.
Yeah, it was like a self-defense mode.
Yeah, kind of thing.
And like she takes the bag off and like, what just happened? Like one of those like everybody's dead, and she's like, holy crap.
Yeah, and I didn't figure it out till later, but it did pop into my head there that she is some sort of part machine or something is going on. And then when they show her linking up and seeing Picard's image, I was like, okay, this is definitely going to be heavy, like data heavy, driven maybe even, or robot heavy. Because before I was thinking that from the previews that it looked like Data was just going to have a couple of guest spots here and there. I'm beginning to think the opposite.
That's the whole series me about Data
is revolving around Data quite a bit, and I don't know. But she obviously, that's our first thing though, that she has a connection to Picard. So it's Picard and it's Data, and it's going to be heavy on both ends, I think, going through. Next scene, we just kind of get a glimpse of Picard's retired life. He's kind of walking through the vineyards, checking the grapes with his dog. He does
his dog number one,
which is funny, hilarious actually. And then he has 2 Romulan housekeepers, which is interesting. Because I found that odd. At first, I thought they were Vulcans. I didn't think they were Romulan. We find that out later, but I think that's an interesting point to his character, though, because the last time we saw Picard, he basically fought the entire movie. He fought Romulans. He lost Data to him. He crashed his ship into him. So you would think he would be the opposite of that he would have some ill will towards Romulans, but yet he's taken in 2 Romulans.
Right. Yeah. The other thing I was wondering is these Romulans who are basically his caregiver, if you will.
They're the caretakers, essentially, like his butler, maid, whatever you want to call it. But
it makes me wonder if they're not spies.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I thought that too.
Because I was like...
Planted.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm with you. Totally with you, and we'll talk about that more a little bit down the road here. So let's talk about Picard gets this big interview with essentially, I guess, Galaxy News. I forget what it was called. I think it was like WNN or something. 2020 of
Baba Watas.
But we get a lot of Picard's background, right? So we find out that he was captain of the Enterprise still, and he decided to become an admiral to help build this rescue fleet because of what else? The Romulan sun supernova. And if we go back to the whole Star Trek reboot series, that's what causes Spock to get thrown back in time, because he's trying to save the sun from going supernova.
Right.
So it's got a connection right there to the Kelvin timeline. So not only it's kind of a cool thing because we get to see. Obviously, we know what happened with Spock, and they created the whole alternate timeline. But now we see the same event has serious replications on this timeline.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool, really, and a nice piece of writing, I think.
Well, it's always nice to see stuff that we've known. To link together. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, it's that whole.
Well, it makes it feel real to us.
Yeah, it's one world, right? One giant story. And it's a connecting. So now we get to see what happens in the original timeline, and then I always used to call this part the next generation timeline, whatever you want to call it, and see how much it's really affected him. But so he was basically he was in charge. He was building 10,000 warp capable ships. We find out, to move 9 million Romulans off the planet. Mm-hmm. And this was all being done. They were still in the process of building the ships to, I think it was called the Utopia Planitia shipyards on Mars, I think.
Yeah, I can't remember the name it was, but that sounds right. Right,
and she kind of turns on him and pressures him, and you can tell he's nervous in this interview, and he's getting emotional about it.
Well, I don't think he was nervous. I think it was more so he gets angry. He gets angry when you can just tell he's starting to get like... He was starting to get frustrated because he was told they weren't going to bring this up.
Yeah, especially then she goes into the Starfleet thing, which is even bigger.
And he's trying to hold back, and he's trying to be civilized because that's what he is.
Yeah.
And she just keeps pushing and pushing and pushing. He just...
Yeah. And he's just sitting there trying to be calm. But it's interesting. I always thought that those ships we saw in the previews, I thought those were new Romulan ships, but it turns out they're actually synthetic organisms that built those ships.
Yep.
And hacked their way. Not only did they hacked through the defenses, lowered the shields around Mars, and then attacked. So what has happened is Starfleet has decided to try to build its own version, at least before this attack, of synthetic, like a synthetic race. Like they're trying to build more Datas.
Right, but they could never get it right.
Right. So what happens is we find out is that these synths actually attack the Mars shipyard, destroy it, and leave Mars burning for years.
Yeah, and it's who did it.
Right.
Who was in charge of the Sith. Because they didn't do it on their own.
Yeah.
And I really think... like we were talking off camera about it, and I think you had a pretty good idea who it is.
Yeah,
and we'll
get to that at the end.
I think we might be on the right track with that. Not 100% sure.
Yeah,
but there's obviously somebody behind
that. Right
behind that.
And why would androids want to stop the Romulans? What's their beef with the Romulans? Right. So it's interesting. And then she goes on and she attacks. She questions Data's integrity, and that really pisses him off. by that point when he kind of lays into her after that. And why did you leave Starfleet? Because apparently Starfleet actually, when this attack happens, they call off the rescue mission. Even though it sounds like Picard did it, at least tried to do it with what he had anyway.
Yeah.
But he resigns from Starfleet in protest.
Yeah, because he says they weren't Starfleet anymore.
Yeah. In fact, he says it was, I think he even goes on to say it was downright criminal. Not only was it dishonorable, that's what he says, but it was downright criminal.
Yeah.
So this isn't exactly the Starfleet we remember from TNG. Things have kind of changed. That event has changed things.
Right.
For the Star Trek world. So we're in a different kind of atmosphere, maybe, where Starfleet isn't exactly what it used to be or has changed because of the attacks, and it's caused all kinds of rifts, and that there seems to be a prejudice even towards since the attack.
Oh, 100%. Because when he, like, later on in the episode, when he goes to, was it Hawaii? Is that where that is?
Well, it's San Francisco.
I thought it was Hawaii.
No, it's San Francisco because they showed the Golden Gate Bridge.
Where the lab is?
Yeah, or the archives.
No, not the archives. I'm talking when he goes to the...
Oh, that's Okinawa.
So it is.
Yeah.
Japan.
Daystrom
Institute. Yeah. For some reason, I was thinking Hawaii.
Yeah.
Don't know why.
No.
But anyway, later on we find out that they basically just shut it down, turn the key, and now only like one or two people have access to even do anything, and it's all done.
Yeah. And it's galaxy-wide. It's not just Starfleet.
Yeah.
It's everybody.
And it's all done theoretically.
Yeah.
And it's not done
physically.
You can't build anything, but you can theoretically build it, but you can't build anything.
Yeah, and it's not just illegal in Starfleet. It's illegal with the Romulans, with the Klingons, everybody.
Yeah.
It's a galaxy-wide treaty, actually.
It's weird because it's almost like the thing that brought everybody together.
Yeah, it was the hate. Hate is what brought everybody together.
Weird.
It's weird. So let's move on to Dahj finds Picard for the first time anyway. She's confused. She doesn't know why she knows him, but she knows him essentially. And she feels that it's an older, deeper connection even. That she doesn't know him because he's famous or because he is Jean-Luc Picard, the famous captain, but she feels like she knows him personally and that she's known him for decades even.
Yeah. And he said the same thing. He said, yes.
Yeah.
Like I can feel it. He goes,
you may be right.
Yeah.
She asks, how do you know? He says, I don't know. But it's kind of so there's obviously something going on there. So there's a connection. Talk about the second dream with Data. It's a painting. He's painting in the vineyard. We've seen this in the previews as well. In fact, most of the previews are from this first episode.
Yep.
Really, to be honest. And then Data asks if he'd like to finish it, and he says he doesn't know how, and that's not true, sir. We've seen that in there, but so we it's I was trying to get my questions underneath me, but anyway, he wakes up and he sees that same painting in the office. So it's almost like Data's trying to communicate to me, because I just don't see him having another dream that vivid just on his own. Do you think there's something more going on there?
No, I just think that's where Picard has a very intricate mind.
Yeah.
And it goes back to when he was with the Borg, and all of his dealings with Q, and he's just very intellectual, and I think that's where
he's putting the pieces together.
He's putting the pieces together himself, and he recognized her. He's like, I know her from somewhere. I don't know where I know her from, but she looks very familiar. And it turns out that she is actually the girl in the painting.
It's her, yeah.
And he knows that Data made two of them, and so that's why he goes to the.
Well, he finds that out at Daystrom, but yeah.
What?
That there's two.
No.
Oh,
there's two paintings.
Yes.
So that's why he goes, because he knows he has one of them. So he goes to the what are they called again?
Daystrom.
No.
Institute. Okinawa.
No.
He goes to the Starfleet archives.
Yes.
Which is
reasons just going around my head.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he goes to the archives. And he's like, no one's been here, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, no, there's only two. And there's two of those, and one is in your chateau, and the other one is here.
Which is interesting that he made two paintings too, which is even more interesting.
And he says, and it is called Daughter.
Yeah, and that's the name of the title.
And he's like, and then it pans to her face, and it's like,
It's right there.
that's identical.
Yeah. And how cool was that archive room? As long as we're talking about it real quick, of course, they had the there's a model of Picard's first ship right there with the 4 warp engines. That's the Stargazer. There's a model of the Enterprise E, and above it, pointing down, which I thought was interesting, is the Enterprise D right above it. So I don't know if that signifies that it crashed or something. I don't know, but it was just hanging on the wall. The other thing I took note of was Worf's bat'leth.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see Worf giving that up. So unless he has a bat'leth of his own,
I think it was when I think it was from when he was the
his attaché or his representative or whatever.
was he an ambassador?
He was he was like his
No.
his legal lawyer or something. Is the best way to put it. I forget what they called him. Kadush something.
What's the thing in baseball between two arbitrator?
Arbitrator, yeah.
So he was the arbitrator. That was one of the episodes, and that's the only reason why I thought about it, because that was one of the episodes with the Make It So marathon.
Oh, okay, they showed that episode.
They showed that episode too, and I was like, oh, okay, so maybe that was like, his gift from them for being the arbitrator in that.
Could be from Worf to him.
Yeah, and then there was also the happy birthday or happy Jean-Luc Picard Day.
Yeah, the Picard Day from the kids.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of neat. It almost reminded me of like all the stuff that he would have had in his
ready room or something.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because it's like they just took it and recreated and put it there.
Yeah, I mean the only thing missing was the fish bowl, and that's because the fish couldn't live that long. But
yeah,
but it was pretty neat though, just to see all the cool stuff. However, if it is Worf's bat'leth, I just wonder if that means is Worf dead.
I doubt it.
I doubt it as well, because I don't see him killing him off. But I was just like, ooh, and that was just one of the things that kind of popped in my head. But yeah, the painting's title is Daughter, and the fact that there's even 2 of them is even more of implication, like Data knew what he was doing ahead of time to me, which is interesting.
Well, especially when we find out from the Doctor that in order to recreate, they would have to do it in pairs.
Right, and we'll get to that.
And that's why the necklace had 2.
Right.
And
we'll get to it.
We're better. So let's go. Come on.
Right, I'm moving. So I like the next scene where Dahj tracks Picard. That would let she look like Data. Like Data was working on the Enterprise all the time.
Right, so that was really... Is that before or after she talked to her mom?
It was after she talks to her mom. Her mom actually slips up.
Yes, her mom says, you need to go back to Picard. And she's like...
Wait, I didn't tell you
I didn't tell you that. And it's like... What?
She's more of a guardian than a parent.
Yeah,
probably.
she's probably... What my guess is that her husband is the Doctor who created them. Maddox.
Could be.
That's my guess.
It's very possible. But yes, just watching her move though through that, it was just like watching Data move on the Enterprise, except she's doing it with a hologram and he was doing it with the old.
Yeah, and she just had like the little ticks with her head,
like ticks like he would do, and I'm like,
it was good.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I'm sold. She's definitely an android of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move to the next scene where Picard's just trying to tell her everything he's just learned about the painting, how she was able to track him with you had to have a security clearance for that. Whose security clearance did she use? Probably Data's, if he has still active. If not, she probably hacked her way through. She can hear things a block away, she says, conversations, So all this is just even more data evidence keeps piling up that she is somehow, some way, at least a descendant of Data of some kind, or it's been altered, something is going on. And that moves us into the next scene with the attack on Dahj, with Picard. But this time she's with Picard, and Picard can't run anymore. He's showing his age. Mm-hmm. He's even like stopping. She has to pull him the rest of the way, and you can see he's fighting for breath. Yep. And Dahj, has to fight these things while Picard just takes cover because he's too old. He can't.
Oh yeah.
You can't get in there and do anything. And then I think it's almost like the final thing. We see some serious jumping skills by her. Like she jumps like halfway across. She's down.
Oh, she definitely jumps like
halfway up the stairs.
Maybe like 3 flights of stairs.
Yeah, and not more, because she's like halfway down on the
and like
she jumps from there all the way to the top of the stair.
Yeah,
almost. So
that was pretty cool,
like a Superman jump or something. And then I liked how the Romulan used. This is a kind of a callback where the Romulan uses his blood, which is acidic, he spits on her essentially, and the acid burns her, not only her face, but explodes the gun and kills her. Which I thought was a kind of a nice little throwback to the old school Star Trek in a way, kind of that they bring that back, the whole acidic blood thing with the Romulans. But I was kind of shocked that they killed her, that they killed off Dahj in such a quick fashion anyway. Well, what do you think?
It made sense because it gave us enough information that we know what we're watching now, but it allows the story to play out as if no one else knows what's going on.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like it gave us enough
hints and clues.
enough for us watching at home that we're like, that's so and so and that's so and so, and they're and it's like, but now they have no idea.
Right.
So basically what it is. It gave us like a full season.
Kind of,
yeah. Of backstory almost, without actually having to give us a whole bunch of backstory.
Yeah, which is interesting about this whole episode, because it doesn't feel like a pilot. You've said that yourself. This whole thing doesn't feel like a pilot. It feels like we've been gone 20 years and now we're back kind of feeling to me.
Yeah.
You know, because we're familiar enough with Picard, and now they reveal everything that's happened to us since that's happened.
Yeah.
You know, since we've been away.
I guarantee that it helps that I watched that.
Oh, the marathon, sure.
Because another one of the episodes was the one with Q, where he was working in the vineyards.
Oh,
with the grapes.
With the grapes, yeah. That's the last two episodes. Yeah.
And the other one was, the Klingon one, and another one was with the Borg, and the other one is like
all the cutest of Borg. Yeah.
So it was all these,
all the old shows tying.
Yeah, and it was like I was texting you, and I said, I wonder if all these in the marathon are going to come to fruition with this.
Right.
And a lot of them did play right into the very beginning of it.
So you don't need to know that, but if you do, you're much more into the story, right? Which is great writing. Honestly, they take bits and pieces. This is somebody.
What's kind of
this was fans that wrote this, and you can tell.
It's kind of like baseball. Like so, you can go to a baseball game and watch it, and you have no idea what's going on at all,
and enjoy the game.
Yeah. Or you can have been a fan for your entire life, and as you watch, you can remember certain players playing certain positions or certain hits you had here.
Yeah.
And you're just enjoying it that much more
because you know the player stats.
Right. But you're still enjoying it just as much as the regular person. That's what this show is basically. It's written so that they can welcome in that new section of fans,
right? The young kids,
without having to have them watch so many seasons of Star Trek Next Generation.
Yeah, and it has a good feeling of Star Trek too. It wasn't just all action, like some of the new Star Trek movies have been. Yeah. But it's got action, and there's still the science, or the fake science, if you will, or the unbelievable science, facts thrown in there.
Right, the explanations of why something is.
Which is very Star Trek-y, obviously. Compared to Star Wars, which is just pure fantasy and deals with more mythology and stuff. This is, they deal with facts and things like that. So, let's move on to and this is where we come back to the caretakers. So Picard wakes up from his fight back home. There's no security footage of the fight or the explosion. The Romulans tell him this.
Well, this is what I said. I was like, wait a minute. So he just blew up in San Francisco.
Yeah. All
of a sudden, he's back on the couch.
Yep.
And they said there's nothing.
They just found him on top of the roof.
Nothing.
And the caretakers. Then this is what the caretakers are telling him, and they also come up with maybe she's wearing a cloaking device. Maybe that's why the monitors don't pick her up. And then Picard just runs with that. They're just giving him those ideas. There's nothing confirmed, which makes it, like you were saying, I'm wondering if they're in on it. I hope they're not for Picard's sake, but I think they're planted.
Yeah.
To keep an eye on him. Whether that they're the good guys or the bad guys or not, I don't know yet, but I definitely think they've got ulterior motives in mind. And
I agree. It's
pretty straightforward. But this is also the moment where Picard kind of he admits he failed Dahj, and that this is where he says, I've come here I'm not willing to wait here and die any longer, essentially. That's what he's come to do, and that he's not living anymore, and that it's time to get back in the fight, and he owes it to Dahj to find out who her killers were and stuff, so he's committed to to the mission essentially. So
Yeah.
Captain Picard is back essentially from this point forward. Not that he wasn't back before, but he's kind of finally fully committed to the cause.
He's like, I'm done on the sideline.
Right. All right, so let's move on to the Daystrom Institute, and this is where things get cool, and we get a lot of data, we get a lot of information. So he meets with Dr. Girardi. Her first name is Agnes, apparently. She's basically the scientist that worked with this Bruce Maddox, who we'll get into, and they're the ones that created the synths that attacked the Mars colony. So essentially, they're responsible in a way. For what happened, but Picard's going. He's going there. He wants to know: is it possible to make a fully human sentient android? Of course, she laughs at that.
She's like, no, and no.
Right.
She's like, the short answer is no. Because what's the long answer? Also no.
Right. And we find this is where they bring out B4, which we saw, which we thought it was. She goes into how he was an inferior copy. It sounds like he wasn't even made by Dr. Soon, which was Data's creator.
Yeah. What it sounded like to me was it was basically just
an early prototype,
like an early shell.
Yeah.
Like, so it looks like Data, but it doesn't have the inside.
Yeah.
Like it was like you have a brand new computer with an old motherboard.
Yeah. And it was like the that's a good comparison. And it was like the Romulans tried to fill in the gaps and put him out there in the movie and everything. But we learned that he's virtually lost all of Data's memories. When Data did that whole transfer thing, and so he's kind of been put on the shelf. And that's where we go into the whole explanation, which I thought was cool. Is you can't replicate the science that created Data without Data,
right?
That made him. And that's where they're at a stopping point, essentially.
Or they thought they were.
Because
Maddox thought he knew of a way.
Right, which I'll get to.
Yeah.
But essentially, it's... So, they can't replicate the science they made. Any advanced synth. Little Star Wars coming out of me.
Darth Data.
Any advanced synth would need to be made from Data. But they would need his neural net, which is his brain, with active neurons throwing through it. But because those all died with him, there can't be any new advanced synths in theory. No new synthetics, advanced synthetics.
Right,
anyway.
which makes me wonder if they actually did find a piece of him, and that's why Maddox vanished. Because Maddox took the piece of Data
and created
it on his own.
Possibly. But we do learn about this. Bruce Maddox is the name of the character. We're not introduced to him but he recruited Dr. Girardi out of Starfleet, we find out. He disappeared after the synth ban.
She reminds me a lot of the character from Discovery.
A little bit. She seems familiar to me somehow.
Like, she reminds me, Tilly.
Yes,
Tilly?
a little bit of Tilly, yes.
And that's why I was like, I wonder.
But she's got her shit together a little bit more than she does, but yeah.
Well, it's very much so. It was like very similar, like blonde instead of brunette, like a redhead, but
right. I'm with you there. But where was I? So she's recruited by him, and then she goes on to say when she sees Dahj's necklace, she says, "Well, that's the symbol for fractal. I'm sorry, practical. Damn Star Trek. In Star Wars, it's the names, and in Star Trek, it's the science. Fractal neuronic cloning is the name of it.
Okay.
Fractal neuronic cloning, and basically, in theory, you could recover all of Data's memory and his code, aka programming, from one single positronic neuron. So from one, essentially, cell. If you were going to put it in human terms, one of his cells, they could clone or bring back all of Data.
Yep.
The Data could be brought back, essentially.
Yes.
And apparently, it's a. And then they start going, and then Picard uses his logic, like you were saying, and he says, well, if an advanced synth exists, then thus part of Data must exist out there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Some part of him is out there. And to me, the moment I heard that, the part of him is out there and is still in existence, I was like, oh, this just became Star Trek 3.
Yeah,
it's the search for Spock. It's a search for data.
Yep, and that's what I thought we were going to do when we only got 2 dream sequences of Data.
Yeah.
I was like, this whole damn thing is going to be about him and Data's relationship and him trying to bring Data back, and that's going to be the culmination of this whole series, or at least this season is going to be bringing Data back.
Yep.
And it's going to be welcome back, blah blah blah. You know what I mean?
If they succeed, they may or may not, but yeah. I think they probably will because the Data's so popular. But
well, I mean, you also heard who's coming back too, right?
Well, yeah, they're bringing. You'll have Riker's back, and
Riker's back, and so is
Troy.
Troy, but for a second season, did you hear who's coming back?
Yeah, I heard Whoopi's coming.
Yeah,
back.
Whoopi's coming back.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so we're working, and then they throw into the whole thing on top of all this, and not only is it the search for Data, but when they do this fractal neuronic cloning, things are done in pairs. So all of a sudden, Dahj isn't alone. Dahj is a twin. And you hear Picard say, so here is another one. So there is another one. So I'm like, twins, there's another one. Okay, now we're throwing Star Wars in here.
Yeah.
A little bit. So it's the search for Data meets Star Wars, which is kind of a cool concept. I like how they're tying it all in and everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I like the way the way they played it up, and he said, because she's like, but that's what this is, and he goes, which makes it even more interesting that I had tea with one earlier.
Yeah,
and it's like so yeah, they do exist because I just had one
right in front of me.
Yeah.
Yesterday,
and then we go and we pan into the one where she's like with the Romulans. Right?
Yeah, the next scene, which is the Romulan reclamation site, which is a giant Borg cube.
Spoiler! Jeez, beats. That's what I was going to say. Fuck off then. I'm not talking anymore.
No. Keep going. But
that's really what I was talking about.
Oh, okay. Which is... So you got all this. So it's the search for Data. You've got Data. You've got the Romulans, which is where he blew up at. And now you throw in a Borg cube. And what enters what appears to be, at least by the music that's played and the kind of the ambience of the way he's walking, is this character called Narek, who seems to be the bad guy, or at least by the music that's the ambiance. Did you get that feeling from him?
Yeah, I mean,
when they introduce him coming off the ship or whatever, walking.
I don't know if he was like pure evil,
like Darth Vader evil, but
yeah, but I do believe that he is does have another agenda,
ulterior motives.
Like we even found that out later in the when they're like laying next to each other or whatever. You can tell that there's another agenda, and he's waiting for something to happen,
right?
Waiting for something to click, or waiting for her to find something,
or for her to activate or something.
Yeah.
Because we find out that Dahj's twin, the person looks just like her, is named Soji. Asha is her name because he calls her Dr. Asha, and then later she says her name is Soji. So she admits she's a twin, and she has the same necklace as Dahj. So, but she this time, instead of being want to go into cybernetics, so to speak, she seems to be a psychologist. Because
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, because Narek's like, you fix broken people for a living. So you probably don't want to hear my broken sob story because he talks about how he lost his brother and stuff like that.
I wasn't even paying attention. I just assumed she had a clipboard that she was in the same thing that Dahj was, but that makes sense because half of them is going to be a person side, like a people person, and the other side would be the data stuff.
The logical side, the feelings and that's a good point. I like that. I didn't think about that. So you got the logical,
the human side, the
human
side,
and then his emotions, his chips. Interesting. So but this Narek guy, you can tell, is already manipulating her. You already get that feeling. Like he told that story on purpose just to hook her, and she takes it hook, line, and sinker. And even the whole time, from the minute she lays eyes on him, she seems to be smitten with him. She's going the googly eye.
Well, you can tell there's a
connection.
There's a connection there, like they're a couple or
chemistry or something. Yeah, whatever you want to call it. So yeah,
but we see that a lot in a lot of different shows where the boyfriend is actually a plant, or is the bad guy just sent there to spy, or is the bad guy so close? You keep your friends close, your enemies close. Your enemy close, friends close, whatever.
Right.
So, but I don't know if I can see him being a
total bad guy.
The total bad guy. I see him more being the
manipulative.
Yeah, like one of the moths. You know what I mean? Like so he's evil, and he's evil, but he's not like a Darth Vader bad. Like he's not like horrible, and he's definitely not an Emperor bad. You know what I mean? Like he's not a.
I see him more as a if we're gonna jump genres all over the place and use comparison.
You have to.
I would say and you won't hear me say this often because I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings fan, but I would say he's I can't remember his name, but he's the one that seduces the King of Rohan and puts him under his spell. And he's talking all the time. He's got like a devil's tongue or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's that kind of character. He's working for somebody bigger, but he's working his agenda with her for some unknown reason.
Yep.
Yeah, for a more devious purpose, may or may not. I don't know.
And then we could come to find out that since we're watching it, we think that he is the bad guy. It could be that he was manipulated and being controlled by somebody else, and then that connection will break at some point, and he'll be like,
"Yeah, I mean,
I was being controlled by somebody." You know what I mean?
I think the biggest thing right now, after watching this, is trying to figure out. Right now, they're trying to establish. At least they want us to think that the Romulans are the bad guys. Everything they've done so far in this episode says Romulans are bad guys. They've got a Borg cube. They've got the ominous music. They've attacked twice. They killed Dahj. Everything right now says the Romulans are the bad guys, at least for now. And the first thing I thought of when I saw the Romulan come in and turn, I figured it out pretty quick that when we first saw it was the Borg cube, and then they confirmed it at the end. Historically speaking, yeah, the Romulans are pretty big on power and pretty big on destruction, and if you give Borg technology to those kind of people, maybe not the best thing in the world when you look at it. And
right, but I wonder
from that point of view.
So Romulus is the one that blew up, right?
Right.
So, and I think that's why they got the cube, is because that became their new homeworld.
It could be, or they're just trying to strip it, or I'm not sure what they're doing yet.
Because it didn't seem to me like on the inside that it was Borg.
No, it looked like all the Borg, most of it had been stripped out. I thought I did see a few stations when you looked all the way in.
Right, which kind of made sense.
Borg stations or something,
but it looked more like a floating hotel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Than it did like a floating palace or.
Well, I think it's going to end up being some sort of. Well, you know what? Let's hold off because the next section is about what we think the season is going to be. But before we do that, let's just give our grades for this episode. Brian, what'd you think of season 1, episode 1, Remembrance?
I'm going to give it a 7.
7 out of 10.
I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
Only because I feel that it was a great pilot.
Yeah.
I didn't care for the music.
Okay.
Again, the length. I guess we should get used to the only being like within that half hour, 45-minute range.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted it to be an hour.
Yeah.
But I think the way we grade on our show here.
Mm-hmm.
We go so quickly, and we get all the way up into the 8s, 9s, 10s, that when the next one comes, we're like, oh, this one's a 10 too. This one's a 10 too. So there's not really a grade. So I'm gonna start this first one at a 7.
You're gonna start low.
Yeah, I'll start it low.
All right.
I'll start it at a 7.
So are we doing warp factors then? Is that how we're gonna gauge this? So you're a warp 7?
No, not warp gauges. What are the little things called?
The
communicator, the pins.
Huh?
The little pins. They're
that's just their insignia, their rank. 4
no,
is a captain.
No,
the badge, the comm.
The comms.
Yeah, okay. So we're gonna give it 7 out of 10 comms.
7 out of 10 comms.
Okay.
We'll put the graphic up there somewhere. It's actually probably right up there. You just don't see it.
All right. It's on there somewhere, I'm sure, with all my other little graphics. So let's if we're doing comm badges.
Or whatever you would like. Mine's 7 out of 10 of those.
Your 7 comm badges. I'm going to do Warp Factor 8. I'm with you. We'll start low. I want to go higher.
I know. Like I really do want to go higher because I really love the entire episode. But I just feel that if we start out and say,
I know.
man, this was like a 9 or a 10.
All right. I'll go Warp Factor 8.5. That'll be my score. But and really I'm just holding back. It's a great episode. Doesn't feel like a pilot. I love how it feels like another. It's not Next Generation, but it feels like the spin-off show from Next Generation, but a good spin-off show of Next Generation, because that's what it is. And it's been almost 20 years, but I feel like we're right back where we were with Picard. He's changed, obviously. He's older, but things have changed. But I feel like it's got that same. It's got a Star Trek feel.
Mm-hmm.
This whole show it has a very strong Star Trek feel to it. I love all of it. I honestly, I'm having a hard time finding a flaw with it. It sets up everything it needs to set up as a pilot and then some, but it doesn't feel like a pilot. I felt like I watched a Star Trek show episode, a really good one, but that's what I felt like I just watched. I didn't watch a pilot. And some of the things I was worried about, it just didn't happen. It was like there were some political tones there, but they were very mild, mellow, and in the background, which is where they need to stay with these kinds of things. So, or they're at least metaphorically put there in representation of different groups and different people, which is it's perfectly fine, and that's great. So yeah, I got to give it an 8.5, and I'm just doing that like Brian said because we want to start lower. I really think this is better than Discovery so far. For sure, in my opinion, and I like Discovery a lot. But this feels more Star Trek than even Discovery did, in my opinion. So I think that's where we're at. So before we end, though, I've got one more segment, and it's thoughts about where we think we're going this season. And I wrote this up because I had a billion thoughts after I watched the episode. This is all theory and speculation from this point on. So, and I'll try to make it fairly quick.
I was just curious.
I know you were looking at the time.
I was just curious.
So let's talk about. Here's what I'm thinking. I think Data is connected to the Romulans, possibly physically. He died on a Romulan warbird, saving Picard's life. So if there's a piece of him left out there, the Romulans have it. So why on earth would the synths want to let the Romulans die? Why would they want to stop the Romulans from being saved, right? So I think there's another android at play here.
Okay.
And I think that there's a possibility, because this is so heavily data driven, that we could see his brother Lore brought back. Brent Spiner plays both, obviously. Wouldn't be a big stretch. Or it's another Borg Queen. What do you think on that? What do you think of that?
So I think that it is all Romulans. That the Romulans were able to teleport Data out.
You think he's actually whole?
At least part of him.
Okay.
Like able to pull part of him out.
Mm-hmm.
They found out about the Doctor,
mm-hmm.
and the Doctor created him. The reason why they had the synthetics attack Mars, because they don't want a planet. They want to be able to roam like the Borg did, because it's all about power.
Okay.
So they know that since everybody beat the Borg,
mm-hmm.
that is there for them to use.
Mm-hmm.
And if they get rid of this planet Mars, because Mars is crap, so if they get rid of the planet Mars, the next logical place to go is going to be this Borg traveling cube of power.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And I think that they knew also that if they did with the synthetics, that everyone would ban synthetics, so they wouldn't have to worry about anything being...
So they could create their own androids on their own?
Correct.
Okay, so they're playing both ends against the middle.
And I think that's what we're going to see. That's what we saw in the trailer,
mm-hmm.
was the Vulcans not the Vulcans,
Romulans.
the Romulans, making those robots
For invasion or something. So they would take Earth as their new homeworld, maybe, or something like that instead. Maybe. Okay, I'll buy that. It's an interesting theory. I think another thing to consider is are the Romulans, and this will, to me, I'm looking at it from a different perspective. Are the Romulans really the good guys? I mean, they did lose their homeworld. If your homeworld suddenly goes away, you might re-question how your society thinks. So maybe is Data working with the Romulans in a good way? We just don't see it, and they're being played up as the bad guy, and they're going to do the whole role reversal on us some point in the season, where Picard thinks he's on one side, but in reality he needs to be on the Romulan side again.
Okay, so then they'll put the Federation as the bad guys?
Kind of, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I don't see that, but okay.
It's a possibility.
Yeah.
And then my other possibility is Data communicating with Picard in his dreams. And hear me out. Picard was once Locutus of Borg back in... Yeah. Okay. While his physical implants are...
He still has it in Wi-Fi?
Well, yeah. Well, and here's the points.
Yeah.
While the physical implants aren't there anymore, if you go back to First Contact, he could hear the Borg.
True.
So, if that's the case, is Data also... And Data's used this technology before. When Data was with the Borg, he called out to the captain through the same technology.
So you think Data's on the Borg ship?
Yeah.
On the Borg cube, calling out
to Picard.
It could be.
And kind of and guiding Picard, as it were.
Maybe we'll have a combination of the two
possibly. And then my last possible theory, does Picard possibly contain Data's neurons, or some of them, because he has Borg implants?
Does
Picard
have Data in him?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think so. Because it would be...
Well, it would harken back to Star Trek. It would harken back to Search for Spock, because Spock put his Contra, or his spirit, into McCoy. So did Data find a way to put a few of his neurons? Because if he's immortal through just having one cell left.
No.
You don't think so?
No, because then it wouldn't make sense why the two daughters are there. If his only thing that was survived was in Picard, it wouldn't make sense why the daughters would be there.
I'm not saying it's the only thing. I'm just saying, what if that's an additional source or something?
What would be the purpose of that?
I don't know yet. I'm just thinking.
I mean, it could be.
I was just thinking. How you keep putting out the possibilities.
I mean, it could be.
So I think it's more possible that he's communicating with him through his dreams. But it might be a neurons left in the system too that are communicating through his dreams as well. So that could be a possibility too. So I don't know. There's a lot of different implications. I definitely think they're playing off of Star Trek 3 in a lot of ways. Search for Spock. I really think parts of what we're seeing now, maybe not all of it, but maybe the core of it was part of the Next Generation. After Nemesis, but Nemesis tanks so hard, they decided not to do it, because I think that was the big play coming out of Nemesis was Data's gone, and how are they going to get Data back? Kind of like how Star Trek 2 we lost Spock, and then they spend the whole next movie getting him back, and the movie after that's him reacclimating himself. So. I don't know if they're going to the well one too many times or not, but I think adding that with the Borg and the Romulans and tying it all into the supernova and all that is brilliant writing, though, because that puts new twists and turns and new angles on it. Even if the core story is all about bringing Data back in the end, I don't know if it will be or not. But we already know they're planning season 2, obviously. So.
Oh yeah, season 2's already gonna go.
So I don't know. I think there's a lot of different possibilities, a lot of places this can go. I'm certainly enjoying the heck out of it. So I think things can only go up from here. Honestly, I almost wish like they gave us 2 episodes or something to start with. because I really want to see what's next. Because I think the next episode's name is something like plotting the course or something. I can't remember.
But yeah, I agree with you. I wish that we had, like they did with The Mandalorian, we got 2 episodes in the first week. Like one came out on Tuesday, one came out on Friday. From there on, we're going to have every Friday.
Because the first episode is setting up everything that's going to happen. The next episode, because it sounds like it's plotting courses, he's putting his team together to go out into space and start the mission.
Right. Obviously, one of them's going to be the Doctor.
Oh, the Doctor's definitely on board. We've seen that in the previews already.
Yeah, because it was like as soon as she heard about it, she was like, like it was one of those like, here, take my money.
Yeah.
And she even said, I wish you would have came on my off day.
Yeah. So yeah, there's it's going to be a great series. I think it's got all the potential in the world. I don't think it's going to let me down anymore. I'm keeping my fingers crossed on that one. But I like how they've set everything up so far. Anyway, what do you think, Brian?
Yeah. I mean, I'm really excited to see where it goes. I'm not going to say they can't let me down because.
Sure, you could always take that.
Yeah, can always take a hard left and be like, "What is this doing?"
Right.
And Star Trek has been known to have filler episodes.
Sure.
Where it's just like,
you can.
Now this can be completely different because it's a streaming service. It's not a main net. It's not a network. You know what I mean? Where
There's only so many episodes.
Exactly. So it could just be, your entire arc. Whereas when we had our regular seasons, it was like. You had this episode with starting the arc, then you had an episode, then you had an episode that touched on the arc, then you had another episode, then you had an episode with part of the arc.
Yeah,
I think this one it might just be the entire arc.
I don't think you're going to have any of those two guys trapped in a shuttle pod, a shuttlecraft episode because we don't have enough money in the budget for the first 22 episodes this season.
Right, because they said each episode was $8 to $9 million.
Yeah, so that's quite a bit of chunk of change. So, but yeah, I think they're off to a great start. It's already off to a much better start than Discovery was. So,
I don't know.
I do. I think it's better than Discovery so far. And man, maybe I'm being jealous, not jealous. But,
okay, so two seasons of Discovery, and you think one episode of Picard is better than that?
So far, yeah. I'm enjoying it a lot more. I'm just saying, Discovery's good.
Yeah, Discovery is really good,
but
especially since Discovery is an all-new cast.
Maybe it's because I'm such a big TNG guy.
That's what it is,
and it's possible I could be biased. That's the word I was looking for.
It's the TNG
it
bias.
Could be TNG bias.
Which don't get me wrong, I really like this episode, and I really think that it did feel like, like it was the Next Generation.
Oh yeah.
But as far as new content goes. And like I wouldn't put Picard in new content because it is Next Generation, but like when you put Discovery out there against Deep Space Nine and Enterprise and what was some of the other ones?
Maybe I actually like Deep Space Nine. Maybe, and people are gonna murder me for this, but maybe better than Voyager. I wasn't a big Voyager fan.
I definitely was better than Voyager,
but that's me. I wasn't a big.
That's what we could do next time.
So.
Or on a different one of our.
We can rank them.
We'll rank our series. I mean,
we can do that.
I mean, I obviously
Picard's over. We can kind of stack.
Yeah, I really obviously think that. I think, the Next Generation and Picard is gonna take my top one just because I remember
that's our track.
Yeah, I remember always setting the DVR, not the DVR, setting the VHS tape.
I remember it was every Friday night, man.
On Fox.
And
it was like that and Night Court. Came on back to back, and you just hit record on your, and then the next day you get up and you hit play. Fast forward through the commercial. No, it's too far. And then play it.
I remember distinctly. It was Friday. It was a Friday night for Star Trek. I remember that because I would come home from school on Friday, and I'd be like, "All right, I get to watch Star Trek tonight."
And it was, it was the same thing. Like even the reruns, were on late at night, and they showed 2 in a row.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they were back to like they do now anyway, but it was back to back episodes, and you could watch them really late at night. And it was like, you turn your TV on, and then you click the knob over to the right channel, and you're like, I remember, man.
All right, so before we go, and this is my screen for if you're blind. So if you like this podcast and you want to see more podcasts by us, where can you go? The best place to go is www.the4midwestguys.com. There you got links to everything you see on here. You got our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram. I need to put a link to our email. There's also
Email's not up there?
not on the website. I need to do that.
Oh, on the website.
Yeah, the website. But there's also links where you can follow, like, and subscribe there to our YouTube account as well as iTunes. We ask that you leave us reviews. That helps really a whole lot with iTunes. I'm working on trying to get the audio feed up to date. It's going to take me a little bit of time. I am behind, but I will get that, starting with our Mandalorian stuff going forward, including this podcast. Will be added to the audio feed, because I know not everybody likes to look at our smiling faces, and you have other stuff to do. I like to listen to podcasts while I cut the grass or clean the house and stuff like that, and I know other people like to listen to it in the car on long car rides. So with that said, I will definitely get the audio feed up to date. But there's links, though, to our iTunes, to our Podbean, which is our main audio feed, as well as all the podcasts are listed there in chronological order by video. You scroll down, they're all there. There's also there's categories at the top. So if you want one particular show, say we just finished The Mandalorian for Star Wars, and you want to... all 8 episodes of that are all listed under The Mandalorian. You click that, and it'll bring up its own page, and you can click on each individual link for each individual show. It's all there. Everything that we do is, and your best place really is to go www.4midwestguys.com. However, if you want to find us just on Facebook, you're going to notice a theme here. Facebook.com/4midwestguys. You can find us at Twitter at 4 Midwest Guys. You can find me on Twitter at bwilly1977. Brian, where can they find you?
At Eggzone.
At Eggzone. Brian's been working very hard. He's got a new project coming down the pike.
Yeah, it's the Eggzone show.
Yeah. So be looking for a lot of updates. I know he'll release a graphic on our Instagram account where you can find all of our cool behind the scenes stuff, and Brian's new graphic for his shows there as well. In fact, I tell you what, Brian, do you want to give him just a little take on what you're thinking real quick?
Oh, yeah. So basically what it's going to be is every day we're going to talk about something different. So like Mondays, we're going to do movie news. On Tuesdays, we'll talk about TV news. I might do a little bit of TV every day, not sure yet. Wednesdays, I might do like a little, how are you doing this week kind of talk, where we, discuss, like, I don't know, maybe weight loss journeys, or any kind of achievement from fans have, positive reinforcement stuff, because we don't have a lot of that on social media or anything else like that. Thursday is gonna be a getaway day, so we can talk about the Reds.
All right.
Woo. Talk about the Reds.
Redsnet Live too.
Yep. And then Fridays, we're gonna do Force Fridays. Well, we probably talk about Star Wars and Star Trek, I guess.
Yeah, we can change.
We'll just
Space Fridays.
Space Fridays or something like that.
Yeah.
We might, and it'll probably get tweaked as we move along. Eventually, I want to get it to where I could possibly be doing it live. But that would take a lot on my part to try to get it live. But for now, it'll be recorded, and hopefully we'll be able to have at least one or two. We'll have 2 of us on there. Mm-hmm. Still difficult to talk by myself, but because it's hard to talk to yourself. It's hard to carry a conversation with yourself. But I'll knock it out the best I can. But that's what.
Sounds good. Sounds really good.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm very proud to see Brian. He's taken the bull by the horns. He's gotten his own technology, his own microphones, and he's really put a lot of thought. And we've talked quite a bit about the show, and he's excited. He's very excited. I'm very excited to see where it goes, and because it's more of a daily podcast compared to the specials that we do. So yeah, I'm very excited for the Eggzone show. So be looking for that along with all of our other stuff, obviously. So Brian, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, man.
And it's B. Willie saying, live long and prosper, I guess.
We'll live long and prosper.
All right, like this.
Live long and prosper.
No, not like that. Like
I got
this. You got to make sure you put the thumb, man.
I got it.
Do the
live
thumb.
long and prosper.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're doing West Side. That ain't cool.
Live long and prosper.